To Be Hero X Episode 6, Two Souls. How does this affect the trust factor? I don't know, but let's talk about it. All right, welcome back here. So we're talking about Two Souls, Two E-Souls with To Be Hero X. This is an interesting one because of how trust factor kind of affects the characters, and whoever believes in them helps grant their status, their abilities, all that kind of stuff ramps up. So the more trust people have in you, then the more likely you are to gain some sort of ability and some sort of notoriety within the community as far as being a hero. Now, with this being said, we already saw that Yang Chen saved Pomelo, and this episode pretty much starts off with them getting checked out at the hospital, and he's starting to get these sudden shocks, and he doesn't know how to kind of deal with them, control them, whatever the case may be. And we find out that this most likely has to do with the result of him going viral and actually obtaining more and more of a trust factor. And we see that what it looks like he's got like a 5-figure trust factor on his wrist. Just pretty solid for being at a zero like the day before. This is less than 24 hours, and he shot up from zero to at least 10,000, whatever the case may be. So it's great for him. So he's having to get used to having these new abilities, and he's kind of getting into using his powers and controlling them. While doing this, he inadvertently kind of becomes even more popular than the kids and what he already was for just portraying Esol, but he's being dubbed more or less as the new Esol. And these kids are just lining up to get handshakes with him. But of course, the mentor, whose name is Rock, I now know, suggests that Yang kind of help him out with that. So it's like they come in, buy a drink, you get the handshake with Esol, and every time he handshakes with one of them, they get kind of like a little static charge, and you see their hair poof up. So they got all these weird, Super Saiyan looking hairstyles. They just keep popping up every time they shake hands with them, and they're kids. They're getting a kick out of it. Like, this is awesome. So this is where his popularity and stuff is coming from. This is where it's really spiking is with the children, which is what he's used to, being around as far as his performance is concerned. Now, we end up seeing the old Esol, as he's being dubbed, as this kind of, I guess, callous individual who was very stern about, in his speech last episode about how he doesn't take off his helmet because he wants to protect, the ones he cares about, all that kind of stuff. So no one has any real attachment to him. They have an attachment to the persona as Esol, but not him as a person. We actually find out that him as a person is missing his entire right arm, or for the most part down to like the bicep-ish area. And when he walks through this little device that puts on his suit, it seems like he gets a high-tech prosthesis that he's able to utilize when he's fighting crime and doing whatever else he's doing. Now, while this is going on, Yang is again slowly becoming more and more of a hero, and again more and more into his own right of stabilizing his electric powers, and he's actually out there continuing to be the hero that everyone saw him as. He's out there rescuing people, and he's doing things with his powers. Like, you see him learning to use his speed. He's able to use his punches and stuff like that, and channel the charges through them and really do some damage. Now, he's in the new Esol has reached over about 500,000 in trust value by this point, because it's kind of like a little small montage, but you kind of know that time's been going on. He's been using his power, so he's now in the 6-figure range, and apparently 500,000. He's close to being in line with old Esol, and that's how I'll probably refer to him from here on out, because new Esol and old Esol. But he's getting close to the popularity of old Esol. So now when we see this, we see that their popularity, their trust fact values remain separate. And most likely that's because, you know, old Esol stays wearing his helmet, and that's just what he's known for. Whereas new Esol, Yang is who Yang is. Like, everybody knows that Yang is new Esol. So his trust value is tied to him specifically, and vice versa. So there's no confusion there, which is one of the things I was concerned about. We end up finding out that this entire time Shang, who Rock was like, hey, you should definitely lean into him. He's really been interested in you since you became popular, and really trying to help move this along. And we find out that Shang is like, of course, he's got a rich father who's been, buying him all this stuff that he's wanted in the first place. But now his rich father is willing to sponsor him and the new ESOL. So they're able to get money, tech, equipment, and even a freaking this dingy old warehouse with the money that was left to set up shop in a new kind of base of operations to be able to work out of. And this is great for him. So he's getting to know Shang a little bit more and kind of working with Shang and Jia. And of course, probably, Pomelo, who was helping him out first with, teaching him about being himself and sticking to his old moves and stuff like that. Everything is kind of working out great and they got the place. But shortly after that, Yang is arrested, and he's arrested because of, it looks like evidence has been shown that he was the one who set up the kidnapping in the first place. So of course, this is definitely going to affect his trust value, right? But it seems like trust value won't really be affected until like there's an outcome. So they're Shang and Zhao are petitioning to keep him out of jail, all that kind of stuff. And while he's locked up and they're trying to question him and all this stuff, he's having more or less these bad memories and dreams kind of resurfacing of what it was like with his zero trust value, how no one trusted him, no one wanted to be with him when he was very small, to around when he lost his parents, to when he was a little bit older and trying to figure out where to go in life and what to do. And all this stuff just kind of kept rolling over until he was actually pulled into a mediation. You find out that the little thug delivery guys were the ones that were saying Yang was the one who orchestrated the whole deal, and he's the one who set up for the kidnapping to happen. Now, with that being said, mediation is starting to happen, and we see that there's a rep who was president ESOL, commemorating his new toy line, I guess, or whatever, with the limited 1,000 units. He was there, and he was kind of, you see, he was getting upset and perturbed about just, I guess they're asking all the reporters and stuff are asking questions about the new ESOL, like, do you endorse them? Like, it's part of like, how do you feel about it? All that kind of stuff. And everybody's trying to keep them on topic. Like, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this new stuff that's coming out. But the guy in the pink sweater was kind of perturbed, upset about it. So he's the one who's in the mediation, and he's the one who essentially probably set up everything. Like, yeah, he was doing this, he was doing that, which I think that ESOL possibly set all this stuff up. But now that I see that ESOL is missing one arm and Rock the mentor is not, maybe they're not the same person. Maybe they're related. I don't know. Maybe ESOL is somebody completely different now. I don't know. That was my theory, and it looks like it might have just got blown out the window. So we'll see. But either way, while this is going on, and he's like, you need to give up the name and publicly apologize to us for doing all this stuff. And Ja, she refuses. She's like, no, we've never done anything with this name fraudulently. We've never done anything that has besmirched the name, so to speak. Everyone has dubbed him the new ESOL because that's what they want to see in ESOL. Because like apparently ESOL hasn't been doing anything. He hasn't been out, stopping, robberies and saving people and doing stuff. He's been in there just promoting stuff for his anniversary and everything else. So the rep threatens him with prison time, and that's when Shang busts in. And Shang's like, I got a key piece of evidence, which is the dash cam video that shows that a mysterious caller who called on more or less an encrypted device, you know, made no note of being Yang whatsoever, like the guys were saying, but it was just like, hey, you got to do this and do that. So because there's no evidence, to support that, Shang had brought in Enlighter. So this tells us this took place before Enlighter became God's Eye. So this took place beforehand, and that he was, bam. Enlighter's like, yo, he didn't do nothing. He didn't have the IT knowledge. He didn't have the finances to fund all this kind of thing because it's a lot of money to, you know, pay these guys and to do all this and all that. Basically, this ends up exonerating him for what it is, and he's able to be released to an overwhelmingly positive review of people out there ready to see him, which is like, it's great. It's awesome. So, but all this time during this entire episode, we see that Yang and Ja, are still trying to kind of figure themselves out. And Shang even went so far as to ask Ja out, but she didn't respond, and she hasn't agreed to go out with him. And you kind of feel like she's waiting on Yang to say something to ask, because she's asking questions like, why did you say you like this person? Why are you still using the eSoul account to talk to me instead of just talking to me on your normal account? So it's like these little things that she's been talking about over and over again. She's hinting at, like, be truthful, like, to yourself, and to like talk to me. And he keeps fumbling the bag, so to speak, over, trying to have this conversation with her and do stuff and whatever. So they end up outside talking in the rain, freaking at night, and we see that Shang is trying to get things set up, and he's trying on the ESO helmet because he's like, "Oh, this is cool," and we see somebody arrive to the door, and when they arrive, they're like clad in black and orange, and they have a weapon. So when the door is opened by Shang, who is wearing the ESO helmet, immediately this guy pulls up and shoots Shang in the head, like straight up, takes him out, and proceeds to run away. Now, Ja and Yang both see this as it's happening, and they're rushing up, trying to get to him so that, but Yang isn't fast enough. And that's where the episode ends. And more or less, he's screaming out for him. But this is what kind of bugged me about the episode is one, what is the deal with you know everything, the speed? Like he's got all this speed, he's got all this power that he's able to utilize and go fast, but for whatever reason, like he wasn't able to make it to Shang or stop the guy in any amount of time. Like when the guy drove off, like he was on the bike driving off by the time he got there. But when you see the camera shot of how far away they are, there is no way that Yang shouldn't have made it to the guy to stop him. Like that one kind of threw me for a loop. Um, but again, it may be distraught. He may be just rushing straight to Shang. So at that, but the guy was already on his bike and out of there. Now the guy did look similar to the delivery driver, the young, skinnier delivery driver. Kind of had a similar hairstyle ish look, but he was wearing a mask, so you couldn't quite see for sure. But I think it might have been him. But yeah, now this is set up, and this kind of harkens back to last episode why Esol doesn't show his face because he doesn't want any people he cares about or whatever to come under any harm and under any fire, any danger whatsoever. But now Yang is getting a taste of people that he more or less cares about, he's attached to, whatever the case may be, are getting hurt due to their relation to him. Because they look like they came there looking for Yang to eliminate Yang and just saw the guy with the helmet on, was like, oh, that must be him. Wow. And then freaking peace out. So he's being targeted, but other people are getting damage caused to them for being affiliated with him. Absolutely sucks. We don't know the status of Shang. We just see a lot of blood, kind of going down into the gutter. He may be done. We'll find out next episode, I'm sure, as they continue on with the Esol narrative. If they continue on with the Esol narrative, or if we jump to something else. But this is what's at play. I'm very, again, hyped about the show. I'm excited. They are doing a very good job with kind of eliciting that emotion and stuff. Like you're getting attached to characters, and characters are getting pulled out from under you, whether it be freaking a drop in status or a removal to the means of injury or whatever the case may be. Like stuff is happening. So good episode, solid episode. I'm excited to see what the next episode holds. I think they may continue the Esol a little bit more, maybe a part two, maybe get a clash of Esols, old Esol versus new Esol, and see how that turns out. And there may be one definitive Esol after that. You could move on to another hero. So it is, because look, all these heroes ain't heroes as far as I'm concerned. Like I definitely feel like something's up, and at some point in time, this is gonna go kind of crazy. Because you think about it, anything that have to do with heroes like this in society, like let's take the boys and Homelander, so that you can have a lot of status and stuff like that. But as soon as you do something wrong, so that your trust factor can drop, so that your powers can suffer. So they have to maintain themselves a certain way with a certain decorum outside in the public eye versus inside, be able to do whatever it is that they want. So hey, anything can happen at this point. But with that, I would love something to happen with you guys is to hit that lovely red subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you're tuned in, and we will continue covering this each and every week. We have Last of Us, continuing on with season 2. We've got freaking My Hero, we got Windbreaker and stuff, and we'll be covering several of the things that we can, along with Kaiju number 8 and Dan as we continue to go on. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.